Hi, it's Jasmin. You know, that girl who did you know what way before the internet ever existed. Join me and my special guest every week as we talk about anything and everything because nothing is too taboo. So punch your ticket and get on board the Krazy train with me, Jasmin St. All aboard! Welcome to a brand new episode of Krazytrainpodcast. This week's guest is actually one of my oldest friends, but a pretty well-known guitarist and one of the best imports from Brazil. Let's welcome to the show, Bill Hudson. Thank you so much for joining me. I feel like this has been like a long time waiting, Bill, because you're all over the place. I see you on tour with Doro, with Am Morbid. It's like, where are you not playing these days?
Yeah, man, the past 2 years have been pretty crazy. The past, I want to say 7 years, even before the pandemic, but particularly the past 2 years, I was home very little, and I now I actually happen to have 2 months off, so I'm just sitting at home in Florida with the dogs. Remember Paco?
Hi, Paco. I see Paco Taco. Yes, he got big too.
Yeah.
It's a big
So
baby.
yeah, man, it's been a busy year for sure. And this last Am Morbid tour, I didn't even expect. That was supposed to be my time off, and then guys, we got 25 more shows. Awesome.
It's got to be so difficult living on the road, and then you have an attachment to your pet.
Yeah, all of them. I have 3 pets. The worst thing of all that happened related to that was last summer. My cat Mowgli. You remember Mowgli, right? My cat Mowgli died when I was playing in Sofia, Bulgaria, and it was really sad. Like, me and my ex-wife, I kind of had to watch it via FaceTime as my ex-wife sat there, showing me where they're putting him down, and that's the hardest thing. Like, as far as like having pets and being on the road, for sure.
I can imagine. I'm very attached to my cat too. I totally get it. So I remember when you first came to LA and I first met you. This was at the NAMM show, like back in 2006. That's been forever, and you've come a long way from that time. What type of changes have you made to your lifestyle? Because I know we talk about this all the time. It's like night and day, guys. By the way, you see an old picture of Bill, it's like the Michelin Man versus now. It's true.
Yeah, it is. I got into some really bad habits back around the time, when I moved to the U.S. 2000. Actually, I did move in 2005, 2004, and by 2006, I was a full blown alcoholic, and I had like several good opportunities. I mean, I came to the States for a band that was on Metal Blade. It was Brian Slagel's baby band. He really wanted to make that band happen, like he made so many others, but we were a bunch of fucking drunken idiots, we're the reason that it didn't work out. And it took me a few years to realize that. So even though there were great opportunities, I was always blowing them for being drunk. So I noticed that around 2011, which is when I stopped drinking completely. So January 1st, 2012, I stopped drinking as a New Year's promise in 2011. And I remember being like, well, I'll try to be a month without it. Let's see, And then, 13 years later, here I am. I still haven't had a drop of alcohol. And that was the main change that was necessary in my life. Like, I'm an addict. I'm addicted to weed. I'm addicted to, like, I don't do blow because I don't want to be addicted to it. So I'm fully aware of my addictions. So once but I can control the other ones. Alcohol controlled me. Once I removed that, that's when things kind of blew up for me, and it's basically all my childhood dreams came true. Like, everything I came to America looking for literally happened after I stopped drinking.
I'm so jealous that you get to see Doro all the time, like I was saying before. So I introduced Doro Pesh at the Milwaukee or the New Jersey Metal Fest back in 2000, early 2000s. But I saw her in Warlock with Danzig back in the 90s, which is like way before you even thought about coming to the States probably. Um, she's amazing. Like, she's someone I want on my podcast, but I can't wait to see you guys play this summer in Europe, because Europe is so much more different than the States. That's what I've noticed from different ends of it. What are your thoughts on festivals in Europe versus the USA?
Honestly, it's two completely different markets. It's two completely different markets. And by choice, even though I live in the U.S., I kind of stuck to the European side of things because I think it's more real. In America, the metal scene is not that different from the pop scene. Like everybody consumes the bands that they are told to consume. And even though they think they're super underground, they're listening to these heavy ass bands that they think are so different and underground, but everybody's listening to them because the same publishers and the same publicists and the same magazines and label are pushing them. And in Europe, they don't buy that shit. It's like in Europe, if in Europe they like a band, if they like a band. I'm not gonna say that there's not shitty bands that are big in Europe because there's many, but in general, people in Europe like what they like and not what the media tells them to. So, and the festivals are, much more organized and bigger, and just the choice of bands is completely different. I have very little interest in the U.S. metal scene as far as that goes. I see like the festivals here and the lineups, and I'm always like, I wouldn't want to be at this festival. I would rather play Wacken, I would rather play Hellfest. So, and that's what I've been doing for the past 15 years. And it's just very different. And I've never done U.S. festivals. I'm not really worried about it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Coachella used to be such a great thing years ago. And now you look at it, it's all these crap bands and people who have no idea who these bands are. They just want to be there at their stage, right when whatever big band is playing that they're supposed to watch. And I think mostly in the States, part of the reason I don't like festivals is the people, because they're posers. They're just not their authentic selves, you know?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
really aren't.
It's a very different thing. It's too. The U.S., as far as I'm concerned, is the best place in the world to live, and is also the best place in the world to make music and all that. But when it comes to like metal music specifically, there just isn't any. There's just not. Even what people buy thinking as metal is just not. So a different thing. It's corporate. Is made for bigger people to make money, and it works like that. And who am I to change? I just choose to remove myself from it.
That's very smart. Absolutely. Um, Now, what is it that made you decide to play guitar? Actually, how old were you when you picked up your very first guitar and you decided, wow, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Actually, I remember the moment that happened. It was I was like 9, and that video for November Rain, GNR, Guns N' Roses in 90, I think it was 92. The video for November Rain dropped in Brazil, and it was like on mainstream TV. I still don't understand how that happened, but like that video was all over mainstream TV. Everybody knew it. And there was the scene where Slash is soloing in front of the church. And I was like, okay, that's what I want to do, And but I was too young, and I'm still like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know how you do that. And I remember my parents then bought me still from GNR, the Live in Tokyo the tapes, VHS tapes from the 90s. And then I saw that, and I remember watching the beginning where they're putting the stage together, and me like, holy fuck, yeah, that is what I want to do. Like that literally that, and because of Slash and GNR, and that was definitely. And I was 10. I was 10 when my mom got me a guitar for Children's Day, October 12 in Brazil.
I think every day is Children's Day almost,
Yeah, pretty much.
you know? So, okay, so you started technically at 12 years old. Were you classically trained to play guitar? Because one thing I do notice about your guitar playing is you know how to make a guitar sing.
Ooh,
Not
I like
everyone
that.
knows how to do that in metal. You really do. And I'm not just saying that to be nice, because I'll be a dick if I want to.
Hmm.
Um, who are some of your inspirations growing up? Was it Joe Satriani, Yngwie Malmsteen, or just Slash?
I really got into all that stuff when I was a teenager, like 13, 14. After Slash and GNR, Iron Maiden was my next big passion. And as a kid, I think I learned all their songs up to that point. Whatever that record was, I think it was Fear of the Dark. And I really got into Maiden. And then then next from that was like Steve Vai, Yngwie. Yngwie, I even had an Yngwie tribute band when I was like 13 or 14 or something. And we never played any shows, but I rehearsed a lot. And Yngwie was big. Yngwie was a really big one. And Steve Vai, Satriani, Vinnie Moore, Richie Kotzen. I got into that stuff really, really for a while. And then, as far as being classically trained, I did go to college for classical music, but I didn't study classical guitar like fingerstyle. I never took lessons on that. But I did study classical music in school. I went to school to be a conductor. So, but as far as like my style goes, it's very much neoclassical and Yngwie and all that stuff. So it kind of, that's where it comes from.
Who was one of your guitar teachers in Brazil?
Actually, my only guitar teacher.
Okay.
No, that's not true. I had another one, but my first guitar teacher was Kiko Loureiro. He I guess in the U.S. people know him as the latest guitarist for Megadeth.
Yeah.
But in Brazil, he was already a very well known teacher, very well known guitar player from the band Angra, and he was my teacher basically from when I started until like I was a teenager or something like that. I really looked up to him at the time, and it's still one of the best guitar players in the world.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, I've heard him play quite a few times, and Megadeth, that's a very good band to play with. So, when you first got the call to work for Doro, how did that come about?
It happened a few different ways at the same time. So in 2013, I did a full metal cruise in Germany, which is basically 70,000 tons of metal in Europe. And Doro was playing, and I was there with Circle to Circle, which is the band for the Savatage and Trans-Siberian Orchestra singer Zach Stevens. We were playing that cruise, and me and Bas from Doro and Johnny from Doro, we became really good friends. I think we met after one of the stops when you're coming back to put your stuff through security. I met them there, and they kind of hit it off. We started talking and became really good friends. This is like 2013. And then in 2017, I started working with Udo Dirkschneider, the singer for Accept. A former singer for Accept. Wow,
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't hear me say singer for Accept. The former singer for Accept. So I toured with Udo for 2 years, and Udo is really close with Doro, and so we did a few shows together around that time. So I was always hanging out with the band and all that. Still, nothing came as far as like collaboration. It's just like me being close with the band. And then I believe it was 18 or 19, whatever it was. Dora was gonna play Prague Power, the festival in Atlanta. Oh yeah, all that I said about U.S. festival, Prague Power, it does not apply to Prague Power because Prague Power is the best festival in the country and is a really, really good one. We were playing Prague Power. Doro had to play at Prague Power, and Chris Caffrey was gonna play guitar, from TSO and Savatage as well. And he got into a bike accident like the same week at the show, and then the TSO office called me and asked me if I wanted to do this show for him. But I had maybe like 4 or 5 days or something. I didn't know any of the songs. And I was like, well, I already know the band, I would like to do it. Yeah. So I filled in for Chris at Prague Power. That was my first show with her. The very first time that we played, And then that same year she went to Russia on tour, and her guitar player couldn't go, so I went with her to Russia as well. And so I was just filling in at this point. And then another really crazy one was we had a festival in Sweden where one day Dora was headlining and the other one was I Am Morbid, but I was only there with I Am Morbid. But then the pandemic started, and Luca, her guitarist at the time, who lives in Italy, couldn't leave. So she showed up to the festival, one guitar player short, but I was there for the other night with Am Morbid, and I ended up doing that show for her too. And then maybe like, yeah, and then we went through the pandemic, and when the pandemic was done, she was going on tour with Michael Schenker, and they called me and offered me the full-time position. That was like 2021, I want to say. But I've been working off and on with her since 2018.
You have some amazing stage gear, by the way.
Oh,
What do
thank
you
you.
think you spend a year in stage gear? Are you looking for a safe way to bet online where there is something for everyone, including yourself? Then go to betonline.ag, where I am sure you will find something. Don't forget, it's betonline.ag for the most variety and the safest way to bet online.
Well, not too much because a lot of people make it for me for free. Uh,
Excuse me.
yeah, recently I bought these leather pants, but it was only like $80, and I bought it on eBay.
Were
And
they used or something?
no, they were like they're like probably super Chinese, but they haven't ripped yet. I've been wearing them, you know. And I have some new rock boots that I really like. Those are expensive. Those are like $400. Expensive for me, you know.
I totally get it. But that's, I mean, I was tickled pink, like hot pink, when I saw that you're working for Doro, because I thought that was so amazing. And she is just, she's something else. You know, she's been around forever.
We need to
And
promote a meeting of you and her, man. She would love you.
I want her on my podcast because I mean, I'll tell you something. Not a lot of people know this. Growing up, I worked at a heavy metal record store across the street from where Jimi Hendrix had his studios in Greenwich Village. So my specific section was European heavy metal. So I would always organize things from like Overdrive, Sado, and all these other bands, Halloween, and some bands that you guys probably wouldn't hear of, but I knew exactly who they were, and even some of the underground rock bands like Brighton Rock. So I saw all these cool things, and I remember seeing Doro,
That's cool.
and she was so cool, like such a nice person. How long did it actually take you to learn these songs if you had like 1 or 2 days only? I mean, that's got to be so
Yeah,
mind.
it
Yeah.
was about that. It was just about that. 3 4 days, you know, and go. And on this show too, the funny thing about this is that there were two keyboard songs too, and where the guitar player used to play keyboards, and she's like, well, I mean, if you want, I can cut these songs off for you, but they're important songs. It's for Emer, you know, her big one. So I'm like, no, fuck no, I'll learn it, you know. So now I play like I had never played keyboards live in my life, and now I play Fedora keyboards, you know. That was cool. I've been doing since, you know. But yeah, it was like 4 days or something. Her songs aren't that complicated. The problem was that I didn't know a lot of them. Like I had never heard a lot of them, you know. So it's like, you know, if you give me a set of Iron Maiden, I would know everything because I grew up with it. Some of the songs were like old Warlock songs that I knew, but then there was some of her newer stuff that I didn't, you know. So I had to like kind of get familiar with it. But it was cool, you know. And the thing about Doro too, about working with her, is that she can call any song at any time. So you need to know all of them. I mean, there's a set list, but if she decides to just skip 2 songs and add another one, she'll do it, and you have to know it.
I'm
It's
sure.
cool.
Well, she is the queen, and they don't call her that for
Absolutely.
anything. I'm sure she's earned that title 100%. What are some of the more challenging things to play? Would you say it's the older Warlock stuff or the newer things?
Definitely the older Warlock stuff. Yeah, the newer stuff is a little less metal. It's a little more, you know, pop oriented. Not pop, but like pop structure. You know, is a little bit easier. The old Warlock stuff has some crazy structures. You know, things that repeat only one time and stuff like that. It's cool, but it's really fun. It's a really fun gig.
What's the demographic like age-wise at shows and sex-wise?
50-50 sex wise. You know, I used to think it was more women, but it's not. Now the age is up there. You know, the age is higher up there. Um, it's an older crowd, at least than myself. You know,
So like, what is it, like guys in their 50s with mullets and shit like that?
well, they're dads.
Oh, anyway. Are they hot dads or what are they? Are they like dads?
I don't know. I'm not looking at those guys. I'm looking. I'm looking at the two hot chicks in the crowd.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Thanks for telling us that. So yeah, I've got yet to see a few more European festivals with some of the older bands because I love Accept, and that's one of my favorite bands that you played for. What was it like touring with Udo?
That was awesome. It was
Yeah,
really. I mean, that dude is a legend. Udo tours a lot more than Doro does. Doro does a lot of big festivals, big stuff, but she doesn't play a lot of shows. Udo was just work, work, work all the time, man. I've seen some places with Udo that I'm positive I'll never see again. Like we toured Russia, and I think it was like 12 shows. You know, like
really?
dude, I went to Vladivostok, like 60 miles from North Korea. Khabarovsk, Novosibirsk, all this stuff. Like I saw all of Russia with Udo, not just Moscow and St. Pete, where like most tours. No, it was like, dude, so much, and we went like 2 times. Ukraine too, like most people go and play Kiev. We did like 6 shows in Ukraine. All these like really really small cities, and even in Europe, like Eastern European, these city, these countries that you wouldn't go. Udo is just like huge in those parts of the world. We did an awesome U.S. tour too.
Hmm.
But and like you, I'm a huge Accept fan. Like I, playing those songs with Udo was kind of surreal. Like eventually I got used to it, but the first time I played Balls to the Wall with him in the rehearsal room, I'm like, that's fucking weird because I'm hearing his voice and he's sitting right there. It was fucking cool, man. It was really cool gig. We had a little bit of a falling out when I came out of the band, but we're friends again. He's already sang with us at Vakken and everything. We're good now.
Oh, good. So I could hit you up to get me on the list to see the show. Perfect. Just want to make sure about that. And when you're saying you went to all these cities in Russia, like 16 different ones, I heard the metal scene in Russia is extremely passionate. Like people go wild. Were they sold out shows?
Oh yeah, there's 5,000, 6,000 people. It was all huge, and and the Russia. I always say that like Russia is the only country not in South America where the fans act like the fans in South America. Like they want pics, they wait at the hotel, they
Yeah.
follow you around, and some people get really mad at that. I remember the first show we did, I think it was Moscow, and I went in, I'm like, there's no way this is sold out. This place is too big. People aren't gonna come to see Udo. And sure enough, not only was it sold out, there was a bunch of people outside that couldn't come in. It was like this small city. We play Novo Novgorod. I don't even know how to say the name of the fucking city. I'm like, who lives here? Sure enough, 2,000 people. I'm like, damn, dude.
Yeah, I know that they had metal. What was it? It was one of those metal magazines, Metal Hammer Russia, years ago. And I thought they'd have a really good circulation, like high circulation, because Russians love their metal. They said no, they're like barely 100 or 200 people buying it, which is it was sort of heartbreaking to hear that. Tell me about NorthStar, your other band. Is that something that you're still doing? Because I see a little post here and there for that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, NorthTale.
NorthTale,
Sorry.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So NorthTale is it's kind of heartbreaking to me because like actually for once I'm gonna tell the whole story. So NorthTale was started exactly when I was working with Udo. I had come to a point in my life where I was like, okay, everything I wanted to do, I did. I bought a house playing guitar. I make a really good living playing music. I live in America. I tour Europe. Just everything as I dreamed. What's missing? You know. And I was like, well, my music is missing because basically, as the late Ralph Santalla used to say, I was the highest paid cover guitarist in the world. That's what he used to say because he's like, you're all these big bands, but you didn't write the music. And I was like, okay, well, let me try to write some of my music and see what that does. So at first it was just that. And then I met some Swedish people and I started the band with them. I started NorthTale in Sweden. I had the singer Christian Eriksson that had just left Twilight Force, drummer Patrick Johansson, who I
Mhm.
met through you,
Yeah.
uh,
Yep.
and Michael Planefeld, the bass player who plays with John Norum from Europe. And I had Jimmy Pitts on keyboards from Missouri. And we did this first album that was essentially my solo album, but because it turned out so good, I decided to call it a band. And I signed with Nuclear Blast, which turned out to be the biggest fucking mistake I ever made in my life. And you know, on the first album, we had a lot of support by them. We were featured on all the big magazines. Our very first show was a Sabaton open air playing after Apocalyptica. We had a lot of hype and a lot of push in Europe at the beginning, right? And then Nuclear Blast went through some changes, and all of the people who were working with us left and started a new label named at the time Atomic Fire, which right now is RPM Music. And basically everybody that came into the label didn't even know who the fuck we were. Like, what is this band? Who is NorthTale? You know? And we were doing our second record at that time that is like my life's masterpiece. You know, like I still say that's like the best thing I've ever done in my life was that album. But nobody on the label gave a shit. Deadlines came and went. Release dates came and went. Vinyl days came and went. They fucked up the release, and basically nobody heard about the album. There was no coverage from anybody, and I got really pissed off. And I finally kind of pulled the plug on the project because of that. But when I say pull the plug, I don't mean it definitely as it means normal as it normally means. But I'm just sick of fighting the industry when I'm dealing with people who, when I'm there with I Am Morbid or with Doro, they're sucking my dick. They're telling me how talented I am, how much they love me. And when I ask for their same help with NorthTale, they turn their back on me. And I got sick of that too. You know, I ended some friendships over that. And I also had realized that NorthTale did pretty good considering it was a new band. You know, no, we had no experience. I mean, we went to Japan twice. We did 2 European tours. We did Masters of Rock in Czech Republic, big festival there. We did our last Japanese tour. We went with Edu Falaschi, the
I
singer for
remember. Yep.
Angra.
Mm-hmm.
But it was co-headlining, and the crowd was there. I mean, for us, we had our fans there with our flags and everything. It wasn't an opening situation, you know. We did an acoustic show where literally there were more NorthTale shirts than Angra or Edu shirts. So like I was like we did pretty good, you know. Like I just got tired of fighting the industry. I literally almost beat the shit out of someone from this label at a festival one time because he came and tried to talk to me after he had fucked me over, and I literally told him, dude, just walk away or I'll beat the shit out of you. You know, I should say his name because fuck you, you piece of shit.
Which
Just like
country?
I said.
Wait, which country was
What?
it? Which country?
This happened in Germany. So he knows if he's watching or somebody from the label is watching, they know who I'm talking about because the entire label knows about it.
I know
And
who
then
you're
everybody
talking
that
about.
works at the label comes to me and tells me, "Oh, I heard you almost beat the shit of so and so. That's awesome." And I'm like, "Oh, so nobody likes this guy, you know? Fuck that guy, piece of shit."
Well, here's the
But
thing. I mean, like you're saying this, right? But the thing is, I feel as though maybe like because I know the music because I've heard you guys before, right?
yeah,
But I feel as though it's too many of these newbies that came in with zero fucking work ethic and no knowledge of metal and like what sells in certain markets. And some of them are just so like lazy.
yeah. So when I realized that, I just decided to focus because they say that 20% of the things bring 80% of your problems, right? It's the 80-20 rule. Well, I have two bands that pay me really good money to tour the world in really good conditions and feel like a rock star. And I have one band that's giving me trouble. That's, that I'm dealing with assholes in the industry. The same assholes that come to my show to kiss my ass with the other bands. So I just decided to cut that part loose right now.
Well, yeah, that's probably a very good idea. And maybe, it's not the end of North Star, but maybe there'll be something else that comes of this that you get from this.
That's what I choose to
Yeah.
believe. Maybe I'll do some albums someday. Maybe I won't. You know what I mean? I don't have to. We don't have. I mean, we have fans, but we don't have enough people that care. to that we have to do some big comeback. So maybe one day we will, maybe we won't.
You never know. Never say never. Do you do any guitar workshops still? I know that you did one in Japan when I was wrestling last year there. So is that what you do on the side? Do you have a guitar column anymore?
No, I haven't done shit as far as that goes, like guitar stuff. No, I did the ones in Japan because I'm really close to the ESP people there, and they support the hell out of me for years, and so I've done that, and I'm talking to ESP also about trying something in South America now. I've done a couple in Brazil, but no, that's not something I do all the time. Frankly, this whole guitar world, guitar lesson thing, I've been out of that for a little while. I don't know. I think I got too lazy and too caught up in the rockstar thing. It's what I always say. I came to America wanting to be Steve Vai, and then I got here and started wanting to be Nikki Sixx instead. So it kind of strayed me away from all the guitar nerd stuff. I need to come back. I need to write. I need to do some videos, but I don't. I did do some awesome video for ESP recently. That's coming out this month, I think.
Yeah, ESP Guitarist, and that's your main sponsor or your main endorsement is ESP. What about for amplifiers? What do we have?
I'm using Camper. I'm using the Camper, working with them for years now too. 10 years ago now. And I have, oh, it's not here, man. I have this new Kemper. It's called the Kemper Player. It's like this big. It's got 3 little pedals. That's what I'm touring with. That's I take it in my backpack, but it's not here. But yeah, I play ESP Kemper amps. What else? Dunlop picks. They did some awesome picks. They've been doing my picks the whole time. I'm now working with Diodario strings. That's a new one. Well, I worked with them over the years a couple of times, but now I'm back working with them. And who else? Oh, there's a couple of Polish companies that have been hooking me up, man. You know Brovar, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So Brovar hooked me up with all these companies. They're his friends, like K&K Shoes. They make these shoes for the paddleboard. So it's a plastic layer on top of it, basically. That way it doesn't get dirty or fucked up. And Fat Cables, that makes my signature cables. I don't have any here, but literally has my signature on them. Rovar hooked that up. That was really cool. And yeah, those are the companies I've been working with.
That's good. I'm happy for you. It's like all of your dreams finally came true. Do you have anything left on your bucket list that
I
you've
want to
not
play Metallica.
You want to play in Metallica. That's next. Well, I have a gut feeling it'll be like Metallica or Megadeth one day. So I just have
Yeah,
the feeling that one of these days it's going to happen for you because everything else
yeah.
has.
I honestly, right now, I'm just like, because just like it took a long time for me to get here, I know that eventually it's just gonna go down. So right now, what I'm trying to do is like trying to enjoy the moment while it lasts. Be like, because I don't know, what if next year I have like 3 shows all year? You never know. But although next year is looking pretty good again, but you never know.
Yeah, I believe you'll do something. You always stay busy. If people want to look at your social media posts, like where they can find you on social media to see your tour or come look at your photos or whatever else you got going on.
Yes, you really should follow me on Instagram because I'm funny as fuck, man. I say some funny shit on Instagram. At least I think it's funny, and I laugh at
Yeah.
my own shit. Bill Hudson GTR. Actually, that's for all socials: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Facebook, not very much, but you can find it there. But the main avenue to see my stuff is probably Instagram. It's Bill Hudson GTR, BillHudsonGTR.
And do you have any message for people that want to play guitar or want to be a rock star?
Don't do this, man. It's just that's just a bad idea. It was a bad idea when I started. Is a worse idea now. Just don't do it, man. Like if you want to if you're interested in making music, get into production, and get it as a hobby because pretty soon it's not gonna be a job for anyone. Now, if you really feel like the urge of being a guitar player and you don't care what your future holds, you don't care about money and all that, then I would say the most important thing a instrumentalist can do is to stay fresh and updated with whatever's current. Like a lot of guitar players tend to. I used to be like that myself. Tend to like idolize what the old guys did and not pay attention to anything that's newer. And that, I think that's detrimental for any instrument. Like when you're practicing, you always want to like see what the innovation is. Yeah, Steve Vai did awesome stuff in the '90s, but Pliny is doing great stuff right now. So I think that's important for if you want to be a guitar player, stay current, practice a lot, but don't expect to make money, man. Don't do this. Don't do this.
Oh, and actually, I did forget to ask you this. What do you think you would be doing if you weren't a guitar player or touring artist?
That's the thing, man. I made a mistake, I I never thought about doing anything else, and I mean, a few years ago I started. Actually, now it's been a good 15 years. I started like getting a little bit into finance just because I could. And over the 15 years I've been doing it, I did okay, I guess. I could never call it a full-time job, but I make some money doing it. Meaning like I do options, stock options. I do some crypto and stuff like that, but I would never try to live off of that. I don't know. I never had another interest. There was never anything else that I was like, man, I'm really passionate about this. I'm not. I remember one semester when I was still drinking and my career wasn't really going good. I did like a semester of community college because I was going to college, you know, and I did a semester, and then I'm like, okay, but I still don't know what the fuck I want to do. Like, I did all these like this classes like just English and to get the grades, but I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I still wouldn't. I just like music a lot.
That's good. Well, I'll see you out on the road. Stay in touch.
Yes.
And thank you for being a part of this. Now sit tight.